One of the advantages to me of not running for office is I don't even have to pretend to try to be nice to people I don't like.
That's Congressman Barney Frank speaking frankly about his retirement. While that may have been said partially in jest, there is probably more than a grain of truth in there. The sad fact is, these folks in Washington really don't seem to like each other these days. Is that why nothing is getting done to fix our debt and the economy? To Republican Congressman Dan Burton now of Indiana. Good to see you, Congressman. Well, you've been there since the days of Ronald Reagan. It seemed that folks liked each other more back then. Am I wrong?
You know, David, I think that people do like each other. I think the problem that we have today is there's a big difference in how we approach solving the problems that this country faces. I mean, the Democrats, like Barney, wants more government control, more government intervention into our lives. And the Republicans believe, you know, in things like a flat tax and less government intervention and less regulation. And so we do have strong differences. And because of that, you hear very acrimonious debates on the floor of the House. But I see a lot of Democrats and Republicans afterwards, you know, sitting around talking and get along. But we know we don't agree.
Right, but you can disagree without being disagreeable. That's one thing my mother used to always tell me. You can disagree without being disagreeable. And frankly, a lot of people used to look at Ronald Reagan. I mean, he disagreed wholeheartedly on many issues with Tip O'Neill, the head of the Congress back then, and yet they agreed on all kinds of budget deals. Bill Clinton, a Democrat, same thing. Disagreed with Republicans and Newt, but made budget deals, got reform in welfare, et cetera, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I'll tell you two quick stories just to let you know. When I was a freshman congressman, Tip O'Neill was the speaker, and I was jumping all over the Democrats, and Tip was up in the chair. He had somebody take the chair, and he came down and started giving me the raspberries. You know, we've had our differences. And Charlie Rangel, you know Charlie.
Yeah, sure.
Charlie and I sit down together and talk, and one day I got up and I was giving a speech, and Charlie was sitting next to me. He jumped up right behind me and started taking me on. So we do have our differences, but it doesn't need to be nasty and vitriolic. Right. And I think that what Barney said is probably a little overstated, but there are people who really don't like each other, but I don't think it's prevalent.
Well, let's start at the top,
body.
Congressman. Let's start at the president. I mean, the president clearly did not play the role that Bill Clinton played in years past or that Ronald Reagan played in years past in terms of participating in this debt negotiation. He was not anywhere to be seen. Is that because he doesn't like you guys?
Well, I think he was thinking, let's let them fight and not accomplish anything, and then you know, we'll come back and say, you guys really haven't done the job and it's Congress's fault. But the president should have been involved in the decision-making process from the beginning. After all, he's the head of our government, and he should be very involved in trying to solve these economic problems, and he wasn't.
By the way, everybody, when Barney Frank said that, everybody said, is there anybody that Barney Frank is nice to?
Well, Barney's nice to some people. I talked to him on the elevators, and he and I have debated over it. In fact, I think once, years and years ago, Barney and I co-sponsored legislation. So, you know, Barney's okay. It's just that something's wrong in the way he thinks. That's all.
All right. Dan Burton, always a pleasure to talk to you, Congressman. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate
oh,
it.
hey, David.
Yeah.
David, did you get any of that lottery money?
No. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not well off enough for that win. But I appreciate the thought. I'll keep buying the tickets. Buddy. I do buy them every week. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks a lot.
Good seeing you. Thanks.